joke was that our state flower is mildew because it rains so much.
And so you might just accidentally push yourself in the wrong direction a little bit, and then it's like, I'm going to pay for it the next day.
There's no guarantee whether we'll do it.
But I was just like chilling. I look over and I was like, oh, hello, vagina.
Keep that compass pointed, true north to what you believe.
Definitely don't go to school.
Go to rock and roll school.
That's kind of crazy, but
I don't remember this.
Me neither.
But when it comes to write lyrics, I really, it's a pain in the ass for me,
Wow, this is what I want to listen to during my whole life.
Did you really bring that up? That was a private conversation.
I hope people keep thinking that I'm really relaxed while I'm playing and do not realize when I'm playing the difficult parts of the song.
Those things are always interesting just because I'm so scattered.
Polka metal can be interesting.
Polka metal, yeah. I like it.
It's a microphone. What am I supposed to do with this? I'm not sure. I don't remember.
I know who to sue.
Yeah.
It was that being told I can't and I shouldn't made me want to do it.
And I'm really hopeful that that's not possible.
I want to be in their presence, so I conduct my life in a way that I hope that they want to be in my presence as well.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. I'm Mark Sugiyama from Eclectic Arts, based here in Seattle, Washington, in the United States. And so thank you so much for joining me on this Wednesday, the 26th of May, 2021. And I have a few quick housekeeping things before we get to our interview today. One of those is that I do have other live streams coming up tomorrow. So if you like what you see, or if this is the first time that you joined my channel, if you could do me a huge favor and hit the subscribe button, I would really appreciate that. If you want to know what's coming up, then you would hit the notification bell, but please be aware that you would get emails sent to your inbox about all those things. I know some people don't want to have a flood of emails, but the subscription button basically helps me out and helps that pesky algorithm help with YouTube. And if you're on the Twitch side of things, if you could follow me over there, I always appreciate getting new followers on Twitch. And if you are following me on Instagram, I'm Eclectic Arts Media, one word. And all of these links are in the YouTube description. So if you want to check them out later, that's fine. That's where I post everything first. And some of that information migrates over to Facebook, but not all of it. So some things are exclusive to Instagram. And for those that are new, I cover a wide variety of different types of music and theater, musical theater, opera, ballet, film, television. Basically anything I consider artistic is what I do. And I've been so fortunate that during this incredibly trying time that I have had to the pleasure of doing virtual interviews for just over a year. The anniversary was actually this past Saturday. And I was just talking with my guest pre-show about that was the silver lining for me, that I've been able to do the numbers 196 virtual interviews and events. So I'm really appreciative of that fact. And yeah, so I know there's many of you in the chat, so I will try to incorporate your questions when I can. Also, just please know that I am, as I mentioned to my guests, I am a new fan to this band, and which is really interesting that you can think, man, they've been around for so long. How are they new to anybody? It's like, well, I'm one of those people, but you always want to expand your fan base as long as for organic reasons. And so I'm one of those people. So if you do have questions that are going to go way back and do a deep dive, that's perfectly fine. I'm going to really try to concentrate on the new music that's coming out and the videos and things that are coming up in the future. So between the two of us, 3 of us, 20 of us, I see 27 of us, then we can try to make this whole thing work. And I can't wait to get going. So let's get started. My guest today is a long-running force in the electronic music scene. They are artists in every sense of the word. Their new studio album will be coming out on June 25th. Please welcome to the Eclectic Arts Virtual Studio, Lottie and Mike, Hybrid.
Afternoon.
Hello.
How are you doing, Mark?
I'm doing really great. How are both of you?
Good, thank you.
Very good. Very good. Nice to escape the studio. And we have the beautiful, sunny, not sunny English countryside behind us. So the fact that we're not in front of a pair of speakers for a change is actually quite nice. So.
Yes, we also have a tree full of crows, which are really quite deafening. So I'm very sorry about that.
Yeah, if we get squawked out, then yes. No way.
I might have to run off going, shut up.
Yeah, I noticed that pre-show that every now and then I hear this sound or squawking of different animals in the background. So that was fascinating.
Yeah. They're not owned by Lottie, because generally most
the crows
animals,
aren't.
No, the crows aren't.
The rest of them are.
Yeah, we live on a small holding outside in the country, which Lottie has a kind of expanding collection of animals, but the crows aren't.
I'm working my way towards Jurassic Park. It's gonna happen.
Honestly, if they sold elephants, she'd have one.
They do. Somebody does.
No.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of Jurassic Park, didn't you post a video of like an egg or something that was?
Yeah. Well, I usually order hatching eggs, they're fertilized eggs, and I can incubate them at home. But I thought I'd go one better this time. So I've ordered these greater rear eggs, which is just one sort of down from an ostrich.
Okay, can I just say, basically, when I was pitched this, she said, "Oh, they're called rears. They're really cute. They're only about that high."
No.
No, that's exactly what you said.
I said.
And then this egg turns up that's about that big, and it's basically about half a foot shorter than an ostrich.
Well, I got 5 of them, and only 4 of them fit in my incubator. So I've got one that's sort of in the airing cupboard.
Honestly.
The boys get up to about 6 foot high, so that's my height. So I'm sorry.
Nothing to do with me. You'll find me in the studio.
Always find you in the studio at parties.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my gosh. I have a curious mind. How long have you lived where you're at and have all the animals and the whole farm thing going on?
Well, we've been here for almost 9 years. This place. We started off with just like normal people, just a couple of dogs.
2 dogs, a horse.
Yeah, then we got a horse. Then I had to get another horse to keep the horse company.
Yeah, I've discovered this is how it works with animals. You have to get one to keep the other one company, and then that one needs a friend, and then those 2 don't get on, so you need to get another one. So this is how we get into of large amounts of animals, basically.
Yeah, so we've got about 60 at the moment, ranging from parrots to alpacas to pigs, sheep, horses,
ducks,
goats, chickens, geese, stuff.
Every girl's got to have a hobby.
Keeps me busy.
Yeah, I could say. I mean, I had the pleasure of interviewing a couple folks from this television show called Yellowstone, and they're legitimate cowboys. I mean, that's their life. That's how they grew up. So when they're talking about all the farm animals and the other things, and that they take care of their animals on Christmas morning before they open their presents and things of that nature, it's so foreign to me, having grown up in the city and everything. But I'm fascinated. I love hearing about it.
I traded in trainers for wellies years ago. So Wellingtons.
Yeah, you used to wear white trainers.
Well, I do when we leave the farm.
Yeah, but you
generally,
you have to
which considering it's been locked down, has been maybe once. So yeah. So the studio is a little haven of kind of creativity and non-animalness. While
there's a cat.
Well, yeah, but every studio's got a cat though.
And an incubator full of ostrich eggs.
Yes, there is that.
Okay, and we're gonna segue right from that to with the new album coming out on the 25th, and so that's roughly a month away because today's 26th. Was this an album that was? I've talked to many guests where they had their album completely done, and then 2020 happened, so then they had to figure out, okay, when do we put this out? Or were you guys working into the pandemic?
Well, we finished it probably. I think we had the first draft of the album in August.
October last year.
Well, August last year we had the first draft, and we had the final finished one in October. And since then, I think there's been I think the record label had to be a little bit more careful when they've actually released it. But we didn't have that. Let's just wait for everything to open up before releasing it. So I just think the timeline kind of went on, and these days, I mean, it used to be when we released albums in the past, it would always be the album come out at the same time as a single, and then you get a few singles afterwards. Whereas everything now is kind of individual things, but it's only kind of 3 singles, and then the album there's some afterwards. So.
Yeah, we've got one more single coming out in 2 weeks.
Yeah,
and then the album will be out after that. So there's lots of bits and pieces in the pipeline, but it's more sort of because of the pandemic and everything, and just to get people ready for the album. We've just done little sort of drops of singles, so that's the way that we've decided to do it this time, so that we can, you know, just go, hello, what's an album coming out, you know. And
also we're still the kind of band that really enjoys albums. I know it's a very antiquated view these days of, you know, everyone's got singles and just, you know, maybe, you know, a double A or an EP at best, but we still like the kind of not so much artistry, but the idea that you actually have this kind of musical story. If, you know, Journey's a bit overused, but to actually have something which is supposed to be in a certain order for a certain reason.
Yeah.
And I know streaming doesn't really help that, but I think there's still there's a large amount of people just like us that enjoy listening to an album from start to finish, and they're actually in a certain order for a certain reason. And we're very much still in the mold of, we want to write music for a certain point in that album.
Yeah, I mean, there is a sort of common theme to the whole thing, and we've been very particular, as Mike says, about the order of the tunes, but also it like carries from Flashpoint's the first one on the album, and it goes through a sort of narrative in the sort of same ideals that we want, and our videos are going to tie in with that as well. So it is like a book, essentially, a musical book that's sort of telling a story.
Yeah, which is, you know, how we've always seen. I think coming from we've been lucky enough to have kind of a bit in our careers where we've done an awful lot of scoring, and that kind of storytelling through music still resonates in what we try and write now, and probably always will. That's a certain style that we're always going to be kind of pinned to.
Mm.
So that's, you know, it's nice to actually have a body of work out, because if you release one track and somebody's not too into it, it's nice to have those next tracks coming up, so you've got lots of options. Just to do one thing and go, right, that's what we're standing behind, I couldn't quite imagine that. So probably to our detriment, I think. But I don't know, I still enjoy actually listening to an album and hearing a whole body of work. So that's what we're sticking to. That's what we're going to do. So.
No, that makes perfect sense to me. I mean, and I've talked to some other guests. Actually, one of them was in the chat room. Hi, Dan. Nice to see you. That it's so kind of a lost art of the track listing of an album, and what do you end it with? What do you open it with? You know, what's in the middle of it? And even just from albums to digital, because it's become where, you know, albums may have had 9 songs, 10 songs way back in the 80s or something like that. And now you might have 13 songs or 14 songs. In this case, you're going to have 11 on this one. Of like knowing what goes here, because it could have been opening track, then the single was the second song, and then it could be, you know, these kind of things going on. And I love that kind of thing. Just so I'm totally with you, and probably, I'm guessing your fans are probably the same way. They want to hear the whole thing from beginning to end and just take that journey, instead of, yeah, here's one song and maybe it's not quite the representation of the entire narrative that's going on with your music.
Yeah, well, we've also tried to avoid the whole. I know a lot of bands sort of save the 3 biggest tracks for the first sort of 3 or 4 or whatever. We haven't done that, so, you know, we've got big banging tracks that go throughout the whole thing. So it's not necessarily like the biggest single is the 4th track or anything like that. We haven't done it with that intention at all. So it has been organised purely on the basis of the narrative that the songs are saying.
Yeah, I'm always a bit disappointed when you have like the first 3 or 4 are really big, and then it kind of tails down, and by the time you hit about halfway, you know it's going to basically end really badly.
Yeah, it's like, it's crap now.
What? I just swear, it's the internet.
Oh, sorry.
But it's, you know, it's like that halfway point. It's nice to have that
case.
Yeah, potty. But to have that halfway mark where it has a little kind of, you know, emotional sort of pause, and then you can kick off and kind of go. So we've done an awful lot of that, and we always put a big record as the last track. Maybe that's the years of DJing, but it feels like
final hurrah.
Yeah, you need that end of night kind of. Well, it's not end of night, but the end of it, kind of that big cathartic kind of massive end. And yes, that's what we've done, and that's what we normally do. So we're going to stick to it.
All right. Well, I see a lot of questions are coming in, so let me try to get to a couple of these. And let's see here. Okay, so the first one that I saw was, will there be another USB key 24-bit version of the new album like the last one at all?
We haven't talked about that, actually.
Yeah, there's gonna our record label Distinctive, long-suffering record label, they are going to be selling it on more platforms this time, and I believe it's going to be available on Bandcamp. So it
So
will
there's
be
a
up.
lossless version.
Yeah, there'll be a 24-bit lossless version. As far as the surround mixes, I'm not sure. Maybe we kind of did it after the event with the last one.
Yeah, because we couldn't record the strings during lockdown, but they are real strings because we got them from a session that we did before lockdown. So we could do it.
Mm.
But,
yeah, we can mix anything surround.
Well, you can.
Yeah,
I'll
absolutely.
just watch.
Stick it in a paper bag and put it in 5 speakers. But yeah, no, definitely. I mean, it's very. I think we've got we're very lucky that we've got a very savvy fan base who really appreciate having higher quality bit rates, and you know, when everybody we talk to on social media, they like getting the big speakers out and kind of trying it in the cars, and you know. So I think there's that. It's a bit of a kind of it always pains me when you hear about people sort of mixing their records and then doing the iPhone mix just to make sure it sounds balanced when people play it back on an iPhone. You're like,
well, that's the way it is.
What is the point? So yeah,
and
it's
also,
nice. It's nice to put that extra time to actually have the the lossless versions, the high bit depth ones.
I don't think there'll be so much vinyl, if any, this time around, but there will be like a CD box set. But as we've learnt, that a lot of people don't even have CD players anymore. So it's literally just for, you know, have an actual physical thing to keep. But yeah, we actually spoke to a publishing company. We sent them like our classics list, and they were interested in getting involved with us. And they said that they'd received the box set, but nobody in the music publishing house could play it because it was all on CDs. And this
They
was
didn't have a CD player in the office. That was about a year ago.
that wasn't that long ago. But yeah. There we go. The CD is officially dead.
But we've heard stories on social media which are hilarious of people going, right, kids, Daddy's coming, get out of the way, get off the PlayStation. I've got a disc, and so yes. But I think it is going to be it is going to be coming out in a box set, which we've been working on tirelessly for the last few weeks. So there are a multitude of different versions, reinterpretations of the album, and all sorts. So
yeah,
so
we've done all the artwork ourselves, and just like the videos, we've done all the videos ourselves, and with a guy called Matt Westrup, who's the guy who's done a lot of CG for us.
Yeah, he's magnificent. He's co-director on Flashpoint. So this is a chap we were talking about before the show. So yeah, so it's we've got a nice little group of collaborators on this album, so it's been really good. But yes, it will be out on many different kind of formats, apart from vinyl.
Yeah.
Okay, that's crazy to me that they couldn't find a CD player. But I can relate to that back when I mentioned before we went live that I'd worked for a small period of time as an audio engineer a long time ago. And my demo that they asked me to send in, I didn't have like a CD burner back then. That's how long we're going back. So I sent up a cassette tape because I had an analog 4-track that I used, and they had the same issues. Like we had to try to find a tape player or a Walkman or something because we didn't have anything to play it on.
Oh my god!
So that's why I'm like, I'm not going to get this job. Then they ended up hiring me. So I guess it worked at some point. Somebody came up with a boombox or something.
Excellent. A cassette now, we probably have, in this generation of music listeners, you'd probably be more likely to find somebody with a cassette player than you would a CD player.
Oh, I don't know.
Last time I saw a cassette was my Golf, my car, probably about 20 years ago.
A cassette player?
So, yeah, to put a cassette into,
No, I know.
Like the little
no, I was just going to say we've got a
reels.
cassette in the studio.
Have we? Have we really? We've got reel to reel.
Yeah, no,
actually, that's really going back. Okay, I'm showing my age now. Sorry.
Wow. Okay. And let's see. I saw there was another question here about. I want to know if the ambient remix song teased on Twitter is going to be on the album.
Yes, it will be. It's on the box set. So we've been very naughty, and we teased a few tracks in the studio over the past month or so, which we'll do some more of actually over the next couple of weeks.
More teasing.
More teasing.
Everyone loves a good tease.
Yeah, but yeah, we've reconstructed the entire album as more of a kind of a chill out experience, which is a lot more kind of orchestral, and there's
less banging.
Yeah, so it's kind of the sort of the yin and the yang, really. So there are multiple different versions. So yes, all the bits we've been playing will be released.
And there's always we always do instrumentals of everything as well, because not everybody always likes vocals.
Don't like vocals?
Don't like vocals. Want a song without a song on it. Which is fine. So there's options for everyone, so you don't have to listen to me wailing for however long it is. But yes, I'm not saying it very well, am I?
No.
No, and all the fans out there, thank you so much for the questions. I'm trying to get through some of these without taking up, because I have my own questions. Thank you. And oh my gosh, let's see here. Well, as I scroll through those, a question I had about, and we were talking about this pre-show, is that you've been doing your own short films and you're big cinema fans and have been for a long time. You've had chances to score things. Are we going to eventually, maybe you've already talked about this, but are you going to be doing any kind of like a full-length feature at any time down the road?
Well, the plan with these ones is, so Flashpoint is the start of the story. Nails is a continuation of the story. This next one will be slightly different, but linked. And then the last one will basically summarize the end of the story and what everything actually means within those videos. But then what we're going to do is we're going to combine those into like a short film. So it's going to be about 20 minutes, half an hour sort of long, isn't it?
Yeah. So the fourth single will be longer and a lot more, feel more like a short film. But yeah, there's at a later date after that, we will put the whole thing together as an
actual film.
Yeah, with even more footage and bits. But it's a kind of a bit of a labour of love. So we need to shoot sections and then go back and edit it and then do something else and then come back and do it. So it's we don't have the time constraints of the budget or a studio having to make us do it. So we just get a chance to do it. And most of it is done very much on favours and asking people to do things and just being creative with locations.
Yeah. So
Flashpoint was all done locally to us because it was right in the middle of lockdown. So we've got friends who have got farms and barns and all kinds of things that we asked to use and snuck into kind of like the farmers' fields and found kind of like these lakes and things that you're not allowed to go around and kind of drone around and all kinds of things.
Yeah, it's, like, it's sunny. Quick, get the drone.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, well, most of it was trying to get it to link because it was all supposed to be shot at first thing in the morning at daybreak. So, and it's a bit difficult to actually kind of be there at 5 o'clock in the morning. So an awful lot of it was kind of having to grade things and rejig it and wait for it's like, no, can't shoot today. No, it's bright and sunny. No, it's off. It's off. Like, it's cloudy. Right, we can go and shoot. So there's a lot of kind of trying to get it to sort of vaguely sort of knit together. But
we got a bit delayed with the video because we were supposed to deliver Flashpoint a bit earlier, but unfortunately Mike crashed his drone into a tree. So he had to it was accidental crash, but
I know, I didn't mean to do it, but yeah, it was a very expensive crash, put it that way. So it kind of set us back a little bit. But,
yes.
But no, we had lots of plans for setting fire to things and videoing it, and there's
the caravan in Flashpoint is actually a caravan that lives in our garden, because we bought this 1950s caravan as a kind of little chintzy place for the kids to play in, and unfortunately a willow tree fell on top of it. And it got smashed in the roof, but we managed to use it for the video. But our initial plan was to actually set fire to it, which would have been fun.
So it's still nice.
But we got all sentimental about it because we were like, we spent nights in here with the children, and it's so cute, and maybe we could fix it. So in the end, we did the shots of Edmund on the screen and stuff instead, and we're still wondering whether to set fire. Well,
I say burn it. Definitely.
After that, it's the only way to be sure.
I would love to see footage of that thing burning.
So would I. I'm going to throw the paraffin on it.
Well, and let me ask you this, because with all the film folks that I've had the pleasure of interviewing, they've always told me that the one commonality they've had is whatever they started with is not what they finished with. Has that been the case when you shot your video shorts, basically, or did you storyboard from scene one all the way to scene end that this is exactly what I wanted, that's exactly what you got, or did it kind of shift as you went along with the process?
Well, because of lockdown, we had to adapt. I mean, because we went into was it second or third? I can't remember, but we went.
Second one, wasn't it?
We went into the second one. We'd already started ideas of what we were going to do, but then obviously we couldn't be traveling anywhere, and we couldn't be in other people's houses and all that other stuff, and we couldn't meet people outside. So
you'd have to drive to locations to go and do some drone filming when it wasn't crashed, and and have an alibi. Like, no, we're going to go and pick up supplies or going to go and do the shopping, which is kind of in that shop over there when we're kind of miles out of the way in some forest somewhere.
Yeah, people
or
coming
the
up
dogs
to
are
us going,
escaped and we're trying to kind of find it, or just some story. But
yeah, and people worrying about what we're doing with the drone and are you taking footage of my house and all this sort of, you know, people getting really paranoid and us going, no, we're just.
To be honest, we had the theme and what we wanted to do pretty much kind of lined up, but I think the change actually came from working with this good friend of ours, Matt Westrup, who is the VFX genius that made all the lab sections, all the hands, which still some people haven't realised that's actually CGI.
Yeah.
And all the angels as well. And we were just telling him about ideas. And we'd done a couple of test shots of kind of just in the driveway, you know, with the camera coming around the edge of a car and kind of putting an angel in. And we had a few different kind of versions and getting the luminosity right and matching it with the floor and all this kind of stuff. Yeah. And then Matt would say, well, I can have a go if you want. I'm like, oh, he's just giving himself more work. So then all of a sudden he'd have a go at that and he'd build that in. So that took the story more in that direction. And then the worst one was for the poor boy, for the amount of work he had to do, the cellar where the lab is. We found this CGI model of the lab, and they said
Not the cellar. The cellar's real.
Yeah, the cellar's all real.
It's a farming friend around the corner.
Yeah, but we wanted to have somewhere where Charlotte would actually discover the hand because it's all linked kind of for
To the
later.
story,
but then, schoolboy error, having not done much VFX before, Charlotte comes in with a torch, and then Matt's got to match the torch light onto the background and onto the CGI model and with the volumetric lighting and everything else. So poor boy had to spend about a week for a shot that's about 20 frames long. So yes, it was quite a learning curve, but because of him going, oh, I'll have a go at that, I could do one of those. I think it expanded and expanded. But yeah, I mean, you start out with an idea and then it becomes way over there, and that's
but he's
part of the journey, really.
Yeah, and he's enabled us to do things that we would have never been able to do before. I mean, you know, you can't make practical stuff like that for something like this, and it actually made a massive difference. So
we haven't landed him with the right in the last shot. The mothership's going to come down. What it's going to do is going to wipe out that town, and then that's going to fall forward, and then all these things come out. Yeah, so we're going to scare him with some massive shot for the end, I think, poor boy.
Yeah, and the next video that's coming out is because we had to do that on strict lockdown. So we basically recorded our band, Stu and Simon, and the two of us all separately doing the song. And then he's, I won't tell you too much about it, but he's basically recreated this entire scene that we're in. And it's absolutely amazing because we just saw the final cut, didn't we, yesterday? And it's really, really clever. It's amazing.
So he's been doing stuff for us now for probably about 6 months. So he's probably sick of us by now, but he's awfully polite, so he probably won't say it.
Oh, that's awesome. I know there's one filmmaker that I talked with a couple times, and his film took 6 years to complete. So, and he has a visual effects background. That's what he does typically for his day job of doing really high-end commercials. So he was
really?
He kept saying, "Oh, I can fix it in post. I'll fix it in post." And he's like, "Don't do that."
No, that's the last thing you want to hear. Yeah, from experience, it's like if you've got to fix it in post, it's much quicker to reshoot it.
Yeah, and that's what he learned the hard way.
Yeah, that's why it took 6 years.
Yeah, I think that's why it took him so long.
I think we'd like to expand into doing more short films.
Yeah.
And now we've got a really good group of collaborators and maybe even sort of some distribution kind of options. I think it's just there's a symbiosis between sort of scoring and editing picture. There's something beautifully rhythmic about the two of them. So I mean, we both edit all the things we do and put the assembly edit together. But music videos are especially really good because you're trying to move things off the beat, on the beat, around, and it's all about the feel and the sway and the kind of the atmosphere. So I think the two are quite well linked, even though sort of a video editor and a music editor look nearly identical. But yeah, the two disciplines are what's the editor for Bohemian Rhapsody? John Debney, was it John Ottoman?
I don't know.
I think it's John Ottoman, the composer, who's also a Oscar-winning film editor. So the way that the two disciplines are quite similar. So yeah, it's good. We shall be doing more.
Yes.
Hopefully. Hopefully, if Matt actually wants to do some more things with us, but
yeah, it'll be fine.
Yeah, I'll be all right.
Am I back?
Yeah, there you are. Yeah. Catalina, man.
You've been having trouble with that.
Oh, don't. I've had a week of upgrading a studio computer, and Catalina's the bane of my existence at the moment.
Yeah, this is annoying as all get out. And but yeah, I'm back, and fans, I'm so sorry, but I'm gonna have to like do this kind of thing because you had a bunch of questions that just disappeared from my device. But the kind of actually what I wanted to ask before we get to all these questions is that so knowing that you had a real distinctive narrative that you wanted through this new album and the 11 songs. So was this something that took like a long period of time to do? And also, was there a piece where you're like, I think we're gonna have to shelve that piece. I don't think it fits what we're trying to do. So maybe it'll come out later, or maybe we won't revisit it at all.
We had a few tracks initially that we were sort of playing with. But this is usually what happens: is sort of fleshing out ideas, and then some of them sort of stick and some of them don't. But I think, what was the first one we finished? I can't remember.
I think it's probably Lost Names or something on the album.
Yes, it's one of the ones on the album.
Can't talk about it for another 2 weeks. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, but yeah, it was the previous album was very optimistic, and we wanted to make it very optimistic because we'd all sort of had quite a grim run of things, and we wanted something that would make people sort of, uplifting, and positive and vibey. But this one, we didn't want that at all.
I think a lot of the bands that we really like and a lot of the music we've listened to over the years comes from a bit of a darker place, and I think a lot of our previous albums have had a moodier kind of atmosphere to it. And you were like we were saying, an awful lot of kind of the British bands from Manchester and Leeds, and the guys that from the 80s, a lot of the synth bands and kind of post-punk sort of bands that we've all listened to. That sort of rain-soaked kind of heavier atmosphere and being quite atmospheric really resonates with us.
Yeah.
So it was a bit of a leap out of the ordinary on Light of the Fearless, but I'm glad we did it and we're really proud of it. But it was nice to be able to do that. It's never make the same album twice.
We were in that place as well. It was just and I don't I mean, my aunt calls me Sing Along of Suicide, which is nice.
Hi Pat, if you're watching.
Hi Auntie Pat.
Yeah.
So I've always written quite dark songs, and for some reason they weren't, the dark songs weren't coming on that album. But on this one, they really are.
Yeah. But I think I read somewhere a little while ago that Trent Moller, who I adore, a massive Trent Moller fan, he got asked, did you have many kind of leftover songs, or have you got lots of songs that didn't make it onto the album? And he said, no, everything that I wrote made it onto the album, because he's very similar to us, that we'll make something, and if it's not working, we'll disassemble it, and then we'll put it back together, and then we'll take it apart, and then we'll combine things from other things. And quite often, even at the 11th hour, the day before mastering, we've been known to kind of like grab that and put that with that, and that becomes a different track. And it's until it's mastered, and actually until it's actually gone to press or it's released, everything's movable. So,
well, actually, we did that with the one that's coming out in 2 weeks' time. We had a last minute change of heart on the bridge and completely deleted it.
Yeah.
Just because there was always something not quite right and it was bugging us, and then we realised that we both couldn't stand the bridge, so we just got rid of it, and then we had to have it remastered. But that was only about a week and a half ago.
Yeah. So there's probably about 3 sort of half songs that didn't get used, and there's probably about 6 or 7 kind of ideas that started with guitars and a bit of this and a bit of that didn't kind of make up, but they all get kind of cherry picked and reused. And I think coming from the scoring background, where if a cue doesn't get used or if it gets turned down by the director or by the producers,
just rework it.
Yeah, you rework it and then sneak it in through the back door somewhere else, or it becomes a trailer, or it becomes something else. And the amount of things that we've done where we've pitched for trailers and they've gone a completely different way, and then that's become the basis of an album track, or vice versa. So our studios,
everything is always used. There's never anything left over. I mean, we always like, if a trailer pitch comes in or something, we're going, have we got anything left? Have we got anything in the vaults? And there's nothing at the moment because we've used everything up. And it's not because it's not it's because we're desperate to find something. It's just because sometimes when you've got something left over, it just fits perfectly into something else, and it's just, you know, it's just how it works.
And it's not that every idea is great, but you come back to something and go, well, that sucks, we'll just delete that, and then that's gone for eternity, and then you come up with a better idea to go on it, and then it changes the vibe of the track and so on. So we don't have this, like some artists, you don't have this massive vault full of thousands of songs which are just average. We just kind of keep working on things until they work, basically.
Yeah.
And then finds a new home.
Okay, yeah, and that makes sense. I've seen some people, it seems like they just do the riffs, they do the ideas, and then they kind of come back to them. And some people, I talked to one guest about 2 weeks ago, and he was like, anything that I write, I want on my album. So he'll sit there and labor over it and kind of work on it. And he will take pieces and put it to another piece. And then, you know what, now it's taking a shape that I like, so I'll keep working on it. And he kind of likes the challenge of it too.
Yeah, exactly. It's a puzzle, really, isn't it? It's you kind of, you've got this gigantic jigsaw puzzle with a brand new image on it, and it's just finding the bits that will fit and how it's going to fit together. And then sometimes you're just going to get out the paintbrush and just cover the whole thing over because it sounds rubbish and do something else with it. It's the beauty of working digital age. In a way, I do envy artists that worked on analog tape, because once it's committed, you're there. You can't do anything about it. You've got to actually go with that idea.
But I still do that digitally, because it's like if I'm using a synth, for example, I'll bounce it off, and then I won't save the patch or anything. I'll just start with something else, and then it's always just a one bounce wonder. So you've always got to sort of throw yourself in. Whereas you sort of take photos of the knobs and stuff, don't you?
I used to. I think when I got into modular synths a while ago, I bought my own telephone exchange. It looks like a 50s telephone exchange. It's just all these big kind of knobs and dials and things. And I used to be really sad and actually take photos of it and try and kind of have it record. But, you know, life is too short and there's a world out there to be lived in, and stop playing with a flipping modular synth. So now it's very much like an instrument you play and you record it off and off you go. Yes, it's a one shot until your 7-year-old child comes in and decides to repatch it after school. So yes,
that's
have a lock on the door.
Okay, and so again, fans, thank you for your patience here. Let me kind of grab some of these that are over here. Oh boy. How far back does the oldest track on the album originate?
Why? Actually, that's a good question. I looked at the creation dates, and the earliest one goes back to August 2019, because we finished it in August 2020. And yeah, it was basically a year. It was a year end to end.
I think it's the quickest one we've ever done. Actually.
Yeah, but it's just a shame there's been a delay between finishing it and it coming out, because if you finish something in August, September, then record labels are very reticent to actually release it before Christmas. So we had to wait to get Christmas out of the way. So if we timed it and finished it in kind of March or April, it would have been out by June or July, I would have thought. So that's why there's been a bit of a gap. But yeah, it was basically a year end to end, wasn't it?
Okay, and it says, you both clearly know your trade. What's your background, art degrees, music levels? Always wanted to know that.
Self-taught, completely and utterly self-taught. I had a little Yamaha music synthesizer when I was about 7 or 8 or something like that, and always knew that's what I wanted to do. So rather than go to university, I'd work for a record label up in Manchester and spent some time at 808 State Studio, and then moved to London and slept underneath a mixing desk for about a decade. So it was the learn on the job kind of school of.
Yeah, I've got a degree in. I've got an honours degree in engineering from Oxford. Yeah, so and I don't have any musical training at all.
So completely untrained, but we do. But you know, a lifetime.
Yeah, we know our stuff. I mean, I was the music producer on a film for Mozart, so something must be going right.
Well, you had to learn how to read music for that job, pretty much, didn't you?
Yes.
So
and now I can.
Yeah, but I did music in school and did grade 6 theory and things like that, and basically
She's done more music training than I have, because I only got to grade 2 at piano.
But you know, it's one of those. It's all. I think it's feel and it's by ear, and you know, we got friends that who aren't in the music industry at all, when they come over, they've said, well, you know, in our opinion, but we don't really know about music. I'm like, no, you've been listening to music for the last 20 years. You know just as much about the feel and what music does to you and what you like than anybody who's been in the music profession. We know more about how it's made, but the end result is the most important thing, which is how music makes you feel. So anyone who's really invested their time and effort into wanting to hunt out new music and listen to it and embrace it, their point is just as valid as someone like us, people like us who've made music for decades. You know?
Absolutely, and not wanting to sort of dumb ourselves down about the fact that we're completely self-taught. That, I mean, I've been playing the piano since I was about 4 years old. I mean, I didn't have any lessons, but I'm completely self-taught. But I've been trying to avoid music for my entire life, but it keeps coming back. And it just won't leave me alone. And I'm completely addicted. And it's so, this always, Mike and I both had this real passion for soundtracks, movie soundtracks, and for stories. And I've been writing songs forever, and you know, Mike's been doing music, you know, since a child, and it's just something that you're sort of drawn to and can't get away from it, even if you wanted to, like
I think that's one thing I was really fortunate to do, though, when we started releasing stuff with Distinctive in 95, 96. They had a studio, you know, back in the days when you'd have an SSL studio, kind of you know, or you'd have a studio linked with a record label. They allowed me basically to use the studio whenever it was free. And when it was free, it was basically when the Japanese pop bands from the parent label had gone home. So that would be 6, 7, 8 o'clock in the evening until 9 o'clock the following morning. So I got use of the studio for free, as long as I clean the ashtray up and kind of clean the studio afterwards. So I was lucky enough to actually learn on a beautiful SSL G series and have all these bits of equipment at my disposal, you know. So I was really fortunate to have that kind of
experience.
And then it does mean that you've got to sleep under a mixing desk for a decade, but you know, that was a small price to pay to actually have that time in front of the actual equipment. And these days it is harder for people to actually find that kind of opportunity because so many big studios are shut down. It's only the biggest studios that are doing big clients that can really kind of keep going. So you don't get that middle ground of decent sized studios where lots of people, you know, I knew tons of tape ops and people who would come in who would just basically be paid to operate the tape, but then they get studio time and kind of get to learn from other engineers. So the advent of being able to do everything on a laptop has, I think, been detrimental to a generation of people that should be in studios and learning the ropes and, you know, sitting over the shoulder of well-known engineers. And that's kind of harder and harder. So, but then technology's made it easier and easier. So it's just kind of like a shifting balance, really. But no, I was very fortunate. I was kind of, you know, got an opportunity to play with all the toys from many years ago.
Yeah, well, it sounds like you just took advantage of an incredible opportunity. You know, and some people don't do that. Those opportunities just go like this and go right past them. But you know, you put in, both of you put in the time.
It's like who needs food or sleep when you've got studios to play with? You know.
That's right. You had cigarettes.
Exactly, cigarettes and coffee in the studio. What more do you need? You know, 20 years old.
You're good to go.
Exactly. Yeah.
There was something else that came in here. Oh, will you have any B-sides for later release? You kind of talked about that you don't really have songs, but I don't know if you specifically recorded something else that's going to come out as a B-side or as an extra in Japan or something.
Not probably for this project. We rather than having a B-side, we've reinterpreted the tracks. So we've gone into them, and as I said earlier, because we build the tracks up and then take them back down again, and quite often from version 1 to version 20, somewhere around about version 7.5, there'll be a completely different change and a completely different kind of like section. And quite a lot of the tracks, that's the point where we've gone back to and sort of realised there's tons of ideas that never got used, and it's all in the same kind of group. So it's less of a remix; it's more kind of like the track's kind of distant cousin. So we've kind of accentuated those and gone for those as and there's an album of that kind of stuff really. So sort of B-side. So yes, there's different enough versions that they feel similar, but a reinterpretation. Different, yeah.
Okay, and I just kind of want to piggyback off of the self-taught part of the music. Does that also mean that you were doing some trial and error when it came to learning how to film your own shorts and everything in the film side of things?
It's been a
Yeah.
trickle process, really. I mean, we've been on quite a few sets and things, and met a few directors of photography and things like that. So we've been lucky, like the same thing with the experience with music. We've been lucky enough to spend some time with people that really know their stuff and the equipment that they use. And then Mike's done all the camera work and things, and he's basically just stuffed himself into the dark places where people talk about exactly how you create these things. He's got books and been on every single website, learned so much, and it has been a learning curve, but it's one of those things that, just like music, if you're going to do it properly, and that's what we're aiming to do. So it is a learning curve, but I mean, we've sort of got to grips with it because of our experience, I think, with the editing. I've been in dub stages editing films and music to film and everything, so I think it's like a sort of team of, we sort of treat it as like a teamwork where we're both sharing the load, but Mike's learned so much, it's ridiculous.
Well, it's just lots of things kind of, as soon as you start really delving into it, it becomes less about the camera and more about the lighting and the setup and the feel of the shot, and an awful you can go down the rabbit hole of getting completely lost in kind of what camera and what lens and what hard drive to record on, and none of that really matters that much. You can shoot on practically anything, but if your lighting is really good and your scene looks beautiful and the composition of what you're shooting looks great, you're most of the way there already. You can do it on an iPhone, it'll still look great. So
and a bit of smoke and mirrors as well, with techniques. If you can't achieve exactly what you want, we've used a couple of techniques where you think something's happening, but actually in real life that's not what's happening at all. So but when you get the final shot, it looks completely different. I
think also it's like we kind of have a bit of a heads up on the mood and the feel of a film just from talking with directors when we're doing a score, because for really good directors, it's all about what the moment feels like and what you're trying to convey, and the music quite often actually accentuates that or helps that. But with what we've been trying to do as well, less on the technicality, it's like, how do we want to feel at this point, and what do we do to achieve that? And it's more about kind of how the filmmakers put it together and how it's edited, less about kind of whether it's an ARRI camera or whether it's a Red or whatever. And you do there's a certain level of equipment you need to have, but it is more about what you're actually filming and kind of how to get the best out of the actors and the scenes and everything. So no, I mean, we're just huge movie nerds, completely and utterly. But now, I mean, we used to watch things and get lost in kind of what the score was doing and what the music's doing, what the sound effects doing. Now it's like, oh, they must have put one of those lights up there. Oh, I know why they did that. They put that. So it's just like, we're terrible. We're the worst people in the world to ever watch a film with. And our friends just roll their eyes at us, kind of like, oh, I'm not going to watch anything on YouTube. Just talk all the way through it. So yeah.
So that tells me that as different formats of film came out over the years, you're probably the people that were looking at special features, looking at behind the scenes, that type of thing. Yep. That's
exactly, yeah. Exactly. Which for half of it, it's like you can enjoy the movie and you can watch it a few times over, but to find out how they did it and to see
6 hours worth of special features.
I remember watching the behind the scenes for the Eternal Sunshine of a Spotless Mind, Michael Gondry's film, and just being blown away that it was basically all practical. There's very little CGI. That everything was kind of, he'd get the actors to like hide underneath. They'd open in the kitchen, so they'd just disappear. They'd have these kind of like these doors that they could just go through and go and hide somewhere else, and then pop up the other side. And it was all the blocking and the kind of how they put it together. And I think that way of making films is just beautiful. Less CGI and more kind of practicalities. Anyway.
Yeah, no, I love it when because it kind of forces the creativity issue that if you have to come up with something practical, and not to say anything bad about CGI, because obviously some of it's just amazing when it melds with the right things or using the right tool for it. And like you were saying earlier, Mike, is that really what are you trying to convey? That's the most important thing. So then what tools do you need to get that conveyance to happen?
Exactly.
And it shouldn't just be one or the other. It should be whatever is at your disposal.
Yeah, completely. But it's just even those very simple ways of actually doing things is very. Been reading a lot about Hitchcock over lockdown, and just the very simplistic ways of kind of like a horror is when something from out of nowhere jumps up But a thriller is when you know that something bad is over there, but the antagonist is kind of, or protagonist is just going towards it, and it's the feeling of what you get knowing that they're going into peril, and like, you know, the differences between those are just fascinating. I love that.
Yeah, I love that too, how they create that emotional weight that happens in a film, or the storytelling narrative, and through the camera techniques, through the scenes that they use, the angles that they choose, and it's so interesting to see, like, oh, if they did it this take of it versus the one that ended up in the film, how different it ended up. And we could talk about that for hours on end. But I do see a question came in about just curious if you're going to be touring anytime in the future, and is there any chance you're coming to the U.S.?
Yes, as it happens.
Yes, we've got some tentative dates booked in October this year, but they'll be in the UK. Can't confirm what they are yet, but we'll be able to do that hopefully next month. As far as going to the US, we're definitely looking at doing that. So yes, after the album's released, we'll get stuck into organising some dates.
See, we had this idea.
Oh yeah.
That basically, because none of us want to get on a plane again after all of this. The idea being, it's not fear of COVID so much. It's just the germs recirculating and kind of, you know. No, I'm quite happy to not be on a plane again. So we had this idea that apparently you can get passage to the States from Europe on container ships. So there's like, you know, sort of 10 different kind of, you know, rooms and things. And Adele's done it. She
hates flying.
Yeah, exactly. So we had this idea that maybe what we could do is get ourselves some rooms on a container ship, and it's 5 days from Portsmouth to New York.
So we'll rehearse on the way.
Yes, we've got 5 days to actually rehearse. So we'll have a captain and a couple of salty sea dogs to play to on the way over.
Going, not this track again.
Exactly. So yeah, so we might do a little short film of kind of rehearsing on a boat on the way to New York. But yes, we are coming to the States, most definitely.
Yes.
How far inland we go, we don't know. We'll do our best. But yeah, America's been incredibly kind to us for a couple of decades now. So we love coming back and playing, and the crowds are just nuts. It's always so much fun. So yes, we will be, without a shadow of a doubt.
Okay, well, yeah, if you take that container ship to New York, hopefully you find a way to, on a tour bus or some kind of way to get your file all the way to the other side in Seattle where I'm at. So.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
And just to let Toby know, we can't talk about the title of the album yet. It's coming soon, but yeah, we can't divulge what that is. So
we're not allowed.
Unfortunately, the record label has sworn us to secrecy for another 2 weeks. But in 2 weeks' time, there's quite a big reveal of an awful lot of stuff. So yeah, it's gonna be fun.
With intermittent teasing.
Yeah, of course.
Lots of teasing.
Yeah, I know. I see someone Andy put in hybrid cruise. After hearing about
that. I like that. That's good.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I like the person that wanted to call my ostrich Chris Rea.
Yeah, that's perfect. Well, one of them's got to be called Chris Rea now. Yeah.
Oh my God.
There's another question about there was a Twitter video tease of a Filthy remix done in the studio. Can they say what that track is now or not?
Oh, yes. That is a remix of Flashpoints that we worked on a couple of weeks ago. We just, no, not a couple of weeks, about a month back now.
Yeah.
But we've done a few remixes. We try not to do too many of our own, but we've had loads of remixes done of the album tracks, and there's some absolutely amazing ones. It's so good. But yeah, there's a couple of really, really filthy kind of morsels that we've been working on.
Yes.
So I think one of them is going to get released as a single just after the album, and another one's going to be on the remix album. And yeah, so the record label is strategically going to have them kind of coming out. So I think there's literally, it's getting up to nearly a release every 4 weeks, including the album for the next couple of months now. So yeah, so we a deluge of stuff, and everyone can be sick of us for a while. So.
Okay, and someone's saying, please come to Turkey when you tour. That's actually, they put that in there twice. I guess they really want you to come.
Yeah, absolutely, love to.
I don't think we've been to Turkey.
Yes, quite a long time ago, 2004, I think, with Adam Taylor when we did Morning Sci-Fi. Yes, which was amazing. So yeah, we'd love to. Absolutely.
Definitely.
Okay.
Bus tour over the Alps, and we'll be there about 4 days later.
I see Dan has mentioned, this was actually a while back. It's not to get too cheesy, but I want to thank you for everything you do over the last 25 years. Your music has inspired me in countless ways, truly.
Oh, thank you, Dan.
So nice.
Oh, that's really kind. Thank you.
Oh.
And so Dan's the gentleman that I mentioned pre-show that has been a huge fan of yours, and I got to know through these virtual interviews, and his band, the Joy Thieves, and I actually know him through the Bearing Kind, which is a separate project that he does. So he's a professional musician as well.
Great.
But you've been like top 3 ever for him.
Oh, wow.
So
Dan, send us a message on Instagram or on Twitter to say hi.
DM us.
Yeah.
Yeah, and and he's into remixes and all that. So you probably have a real good synergy of things. So Dan, there you go.
There you go. Send us a DM and we'll get back tonight.
Yeah.
Cool.
Opportunities knocking, Dan.
Absolutely.
Let's see. Any chance of a gig with a full orchestra that you were teasing about a year ago?
Yeah, well, we were planning on doing one, and it got bumped for some reason, and then basically the pandemic hit. We were going to do one before as like Christmas 2019. I'm losing track of the years now. 2019, 2020. No, hang on, 2020 was last year. But 2019, and then the pandemic happened, so that kind of got shelved. Which unfortunately, our 20th anniversary of Wide Angle, our first album, was
last year.
Yeah, it would have been last year, right in the middle of it. So that was kind of all bets were off. But we do have a plan for something probably only UK based, I think, but we would video it with an orchestra that we're looking at kind of at the moment. So maybe later in the year. But yeah, I mean, we've played with strings on a few occasions, but yeah, I mean, full orchestra we'd absolutely love to. But with everything being as it is at the moment, quite rightly, a lot of promoters don't want to take a chance on something which would probably be okay, but if not, everybody's kind of feeling it enough. But we would like to do something more of a kind of a sit-down show, so it's less banging, but a bit more kind of
orchestral,
ethereal. And yeah, we've been talking with maybe the Dolby people as well, and maybe we can do something in something a bit immersive. So that's what we're kind of playing with at the moment. So we haven't got anything firm, but it's definitely on the shopping list.
Okay, and I see a question just came in about 2018 tour live album video release. So is that a question? Like, are you going to be putting that out? I guess is that.
Or was there? Well, we videoed some of the shows, so we've got recordings of some of the shows, and I think we did three or four gigs in the UK before the pandemic, and we do have videos of quite a few of them. We put a couple of tracks up from Under the Bridge.
Yeah.
But we do have some more at the moment, but we're going to be filming a lot more with the gigs we'll be doing later in the year. So we'll probably move on to those ones, to be honest, because they're quite time consuming to do. So yeah, we might dig some stuff out of the vaults. We've actually got the full orchestral recording from the last album. We had the entire session videoed from about 5 different cameras. So that's something that we're at some point we'll have to get around to actually finishing. So yeah, we had about 4 cameramen that were right in the centre of the orchestra, so right next to the cellist, and they'd move around, and all these various cameras and everything recorded in surround. So yeah, maybe we'll put that out on Twitter and see if anybody's interested, and then we might do some more work on it. We'll get this album out first, and then come back to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you mentioned, it's on the list. It's on the radar. It's one.
Yeah, we're quite fortunate that we amass lots of kind of data and things, and then we use bits from here and there. But yeah, hopefully.
Okay, and I see actually, I think this question was put in earlier. Sorry about that to Alex. Will you ever do another white label on acetates mix with your more recent stuff using unused material?
Yes, I would have thought so. We've done quite a few remixes recently, which will be coming out before too long. So we got back into kind of like doing the quite sort of heavy bassline 4/4, somewhere between breaks and 4/4. So we'll probably end up doing something.
We've done one for Matt Lang recently.
Yeah, which is a beauty. We're really, really, really happy with that. So, and there's a few bits unreleased here and there that we've got. So as ever, as soon as we've got an album out of the way, then we start thinking, right, what can we do now? So yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So much to do.
Who's on your wish list of collaborators?
Ooh.
Thoughts about that?
Really? Oh, we've got a few. There's a few. I'd love to do something with Harvey from Titara Peak.
Oh yes.
Yeah, Harvey's great. He used to be in a band. He was in a band called Eclectic and he did a remix of our track Flashpoint, and he's got such a unique sound. He's really cool. So
yeah, the remix is great.
We've spoken with him, so we'll hopefully do something with Harvey for too long.
Yeah.
Matt Lang's been a mate of ours for ages, so and we're massive fans of him. He's a great singer-songwriter, great guitarist as well. But yeah, I think producers and sort of musicians that have got a certain sound, I think we'd really be into. We've got a project coming up which we can't really talk about at the moment, but that is going to be a lot more collaborative. So yeah, there's a slew of stuff on the go at the moment. We've got to have a bit of the chart of kind of what's going on. So yeah, there's a few people. I wouldn't want to jinx anything at the moment.
No.
Okay, and one, I thank you so much for taking so much time today. I really appreciate it. I'm sure the fans appreciate it too. They probably want me to go for hours on end, but so you just to kind of recap, the album's coming out on the 25th of June. We know that there's the third video is coming out in about 2 weeks or so.
Yes.
And then you're
the 11th, isn't it?
Yeah, I think is it 11th? We better get it right.
Yeah, it's the 11th of June.
Yeah.
Okay. So the 11th of June. So and it looks like there will be some gigs coming up in at least okay, you know, and hopefully everything keeps going in the right direction like it seems to be now. So there could be even more things potentially taking a container ship over to the US.
We are going to do that, definitely, without a shadow of a doubt. I just want to rock up to New York Harbour and kind of like roll off and go straight to the club.
Knowing my supreme level of clumsiness, they'll probably fall overboard.
Yeah, but if you get yourself on the 6 o'clock news, then it's extra promotion. So,
Lottie from Hybrid found floating in the Pacific Ocean.
Did she fall or was she pushed?
Definitely pushed.
Oh well, that would make it.
Push me off the boat.
To make an interesting scene for your next short film that you do. You're actually going into the water.
A very dark turn all of a sudden.
So basically, everybody out there, there's a lot coming up, and there's even more coming up based on what the fans are interested in. So you're going to be busy for a while. I wanted to just say one thing personally, which I actually forgot at the beginning, was a happy belated anniversary to both of you.
Oh, thank
you. Oh, it's very kind of you. Thank you.
Yeah, usually we end up on every anniversary, we end up either having some sheep crisis and having to shear them, and something dies or some calamity. The vet has to be called out, but this one was actually really good, wasn't it?
Yes, it was an incident-free anniversary, which is always nice. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I know. That almost sounds like a slogan somewhere. Incident-free anniversary.
There's a T-shirt in there somewhere.
Incident-free.
Or like I don't know, like a marketing company can do that. We can put on your anniversary for your incident-free anniversary. Oh my gosh. But Mike and Lottie, thank you so much for taking the time today. I would love to reconnect with you maybe once the album's officially out. We can actually dive into the titles and the songs and the lyrics and everything else. I understand completely why we can't do that right now, but if there's some time, maybe this summer, we can reconnect and do a part 2 of this. That would be really awesome.
That'd be lovely. Thank you very much, Mark. It's really enjoyed chatting with you.
Thank you so much. Have a good evening over there, and definitely stay safe. And hopefully, we get a chance to talk again sooner than later.
Absolutely.
Right,
okay.
cool.
Take care,
Thanks to everyone who got involved and asked us questions.
Yeah, and we'll be on Instagram and Twitter later. So if there's anything that we didn't cover, you want to ask, we're here.
Yeah.
All right.
Sounds good. And again, thank you to you, thank you to the fans, and everybody stay safe out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks a lot, Mark.
Take care.
Everyone.
Bye.
Bye.